Hey, it's me, Kate Reyes. Don't adjust your whatever device you're watching this on. This is me, live and in stereo. And if you're watching this, stay in your seat because this video can change your mind about our country and how to help to get a better environment to adolescents or teenagers. This video is going about of teenage pregnancy. Let's start. But what is a pregnancy? Pregnancy is the period that happens from implantation in the uterus of fertilized ovum after a sexual relation between a man and a woman. Within the signs and symptoms that are recognized in the diagnosis of pregnancy are sickness, roughness, inappetence, capricious, appetite, dizziness, fainting, character changes, frequent urination, spots on the face, weakness, tiredness, and other inconvenience like vomiting. The principal sign of a probable pregnancy is the absence of the menstruation, also the increase in the size of mammary glands. Human pregnancy lasts 40 weeks since the first date of the last menstruation or 38 weeks from the first day of fecundation, approximately 9 months. The diagnosis is because of the presence in the maternal serum of the human chorionic gonadotropin hormone, or HCG, that is produced shortly after the plantation and its elimination by urine, and it's the base of the diagnosis in the pregnancy test.
Okay, well, here is a video about how pregnancy test works, and it has an explication that I like, and I like to search with you, and this is the video.
The earliest known pregnancy test dates back to 1350 BC in ancient Egypt. According to the Egyptians, all you have to do is urinate on wheat and barley seeds and wait. If either sprouts, congratulations, you're pregnant. And if wheat sprouts faster, it's a girl, but if barley, it's a boy. In 1963, a small study reproduced this test and found that it predicted pregnancy with a respectable 70% accuracy, though it couldn't reliably tell the sex of the baby. Scientists hypothesized that the test worked because pregnant women's urine contains more estrogen, which can promote seed growth. Now, it's easy to take this ancient method for granted because modern pregnancy tests give highly accurate results within minutes. So how do they work? Over-the-counter pregnancy tests are all designed to detect one thing, a hormone called HCG. HCG is produced in the earliest stages of pregnancy and starts a game of telephone that tells the body not to shed the inner lining of the uterus that month. As the pregnancy progresses, HCG supports the formation of the placenta, which transfers nutrients from mother to fetus. The test starts when urine is applied to the exposed end of the strip. As the fluid travels up the absorbent fibers, it will cross 3 separate zones, each with an important task. When the wave hits the first zone, the reaction zone, Y-shaped proteins called antibodies will grab onto any HCG. Attached to these antibodies is a handy enzyme with the ability to turn on dye molecules, which will be crucial later down the road. Then the urine picks up all the AB1 enzymes and carries them to the test zone, which is where the results show up. Secured to this zone are more Y-shaped antibodies that will also stick to HCG on one of its 5 binding sites. Scientists call this type of test a sandwich assay. If HCG is present, it gets sandwiched between the AB1 enzyme and AB2 and sticks to the test zone, allowing the attached dye-activating enzyme to do its job and create a visible pattern. If there's no HCG, the wave of urine and enzymes just passes on by. Finally, there's one last stop to make, the control zone. As in any good experiment, this step confirms that the test is working properly. Whether the AB1 enzymes never saw HCG, or they're extras because Zone 1 is overstocked with them, all the unbound AB1 enzymes picked up in zone 1 should end up here and activate more dye. So if no pattern appears, that indicates that the test was faulty. These tests are pretty reliable, but they're not fail-proof. For instance, false negatives can occur if concentrations of HCG aren't high enough for detection. After implantation, HCG levels double every 2 to 3 days, so it may just be too early to tell. And beverages can dilute the urine sample, which is why doctors recommend taking the test first thing in the morning. On the other hand, false positives can come from other sources of HCG, like IVF injections, ectopic pregnancies, or certain cancers such as uterine cancer or testicular cancer, making it possible for one of these tests to tell a man he's pregnant. The best way for a woman to find out for sure is at the doctor's office. The doctors are also looking for HCG, but with tests that are more sensitive and quantitative, which means they can determine the exact level of HCG in your blood. A few minutes can feel like forever when you're waiting on the results of a pregnancy test. But in that brief time, you're witnessing the power of the scientific method. That one little stick lets you ask a question, perform a controlled experiment, and then analyze the results to check your original hypothesis. And the best part is, you won't even have to wait until the next harvest.
And now, what is an adolescent or teenager? It's the period of the life in a person between the puberty apparition that marks childhood's final and the beginning of the adult life. Adolescence is essentially a time of physical and emotional changes. The transformation from kid to adolescent also is the definition of personality independence construction. This definition given by UNICEF. And then, anticonception methods and sexual education. Well, different ways to avoid a teenage pregnancy, but it's not only know about them, it's how to use it and what advantages and disadvantages we can have with each contraceptive and which is the most convenient for you and your body. Doctors recommend condoms as feminine and masculine, and UID and abstinence because the rest are hormones and methods that probably induce pregnancy, like calendar rhythm method. It is because everybody is different and the body can have other answers to this and are less effective, and you cannot protect yourself from sexual transmitted infections. And then is when sexual education has to do an important work in the sexuality of teenagers. Actually, it's more common talk about sexuality, but not all. Some people fall in taboos and they don't talk about it with their children. But what is sexual education? It's more than information. It has to give an idea of attitudes, pressures, awareness in alternatives and their consequences. Should increase self-love, own knowledge, should improve better decision making and the technique of communication, and conveys a positive vision of human sexuality.
Pregnancy is a pretty amazing process. It all starts with sperm and an egg. Sperm are tiny microscopic cells that are made in testicles. Sperm cells mix with other fluids to make semen, which spurts out of your penis when you ejaculate. Eggs live in ovaries, and the hormones that control your menstrual cycle cause eggs to mature every month. These hormones also make the lining of your uterus thick and spongy to prepare for a possible pregnancy. Every month, one mature egg leaves your ovary. This is called ovulation. That egg travels through your fallopian tube, which takes about 12 to 24 hours. If semen gets into your vagina, sperm can swim up through your cervix, uterus, and fallopian tubes, searching for an egg. Sperm cells can live in your body for up to 6 days waiting for an egg to show up. Millions of sperm come out during each ejaculation, but it only takes one sperm to meet with an egg, which can lead to pregnancy. When a sperm cell joins with an egg, it's called fertilization. After that happens, the fertilized egg begins to divide into more and more cells and moves towards your uterus. The ball of cells gets to your uterus about 3 to 4 days after fertilization, where it can float around for another few days. If the ball of cells attaches to the spongy uterine lining, pregnancy officially begins. This is called implantation. It It usually takes around 3 to 4 days to finish implanting. Up to half of all fertilized eggs naturally don't implant. They pass out of your body during your period. When the ball of cells implants into your uterine lining, your body starts making pregnancy hormones. These hormones keep your uterine lining in place so it can nourish the pregnancy. That's why you don't get your period when you're pregnant. But if sperm and egg don't meet up, or a fertilized egg doesn't implant into your uterus, the lining isn't needed and it flows out of your vagina. That's your period. So it actually takes a lot of steps and up to 2 to 3 weeks for pregnancy to happen. Want to learn more about pregnancy? Check out PlannedParenthood.org.
Condoms give you protection from pregnancy and STDs in a convenient little package. Just roll one onto your penis before sex to prevent contact with skin and fluids that can spread STDs or cause pregnancy. Condoms are one-time use only, so use a new one every time you have sex. Condoms work great with other birth control methods, like the pill or IUD, for extra pregnancy-preventing power. And unlike other types of birth control, condoms also help protect you from STDs. You can get condoms at most convenience stores, drugstores, community health clinics, and Planned Parenthood health centers. They're inexpensive and sometimes even free. Want to learn more about condoms? Check out PlannedParenthood.org. Female condoms go inside your vagina before sex. Like other condoms, they help prevent contact with skin and fluids that can spread STDs or cause pregnancy. Female condoms are easy to use. If you can put in a tampon, you can probably put in a female condom. They're one-time use only, so use a new condom every time you have sex. Female condoms work great with other birth control methods, like the pill or IUD, for extra pregnancy-preventing power. And unlike other types of birth control, female condoms also help protect you from STDs.
IUD stands for intrauterine device, and it's one of the most effective kinds of birth control you can get. A doctor inserts a little IUD into your uterus, and then you're protected from pregnancy for years. IUDs are super convenient and mistake-proof. You get it and forget it. Your IUD can be removed anytime you want, and your ability to get pregnant quickly returns. But IUDs don't prevent the spread of STDs, so use condoms along with the IUD to help protect yourself. There are a few kinds of IUDs. The Paragard IUD is hormone-free. It uses copper to prevent pregnancy and lasts for up to 12 years. The copper IUD also works really well as emergency contraception. It can prevent pregnancy if inserted up to 5 days after unprotected sex. Hormonal IUDs like Mirena, Skyla, and Loletta use a hormone called progestin to prevent pregnancy. They last 3 to 5 years, depending on which one you get. The IUD has possible side effects, but they usually go away after a few months. They have lots of benefits too. Hormonal IUDs can ease cramps and make your periods lighter, or even stop them completely. Want to get in?
Well, and now, and finally, situation in Mexico. Total of 12.8 million of teenagers between 12 and 17. 6.3% are women and 6.5% are men. These numbers given by UNICEF in 2009. The data of the National Youth Survey of 2015 says that 49% of teenagers don't use contraceptive methods in their first sexual relationship because they didn't expect to have relations. Mexico is the first place in teenage pregnancy in all Latin America. 11.2% didn't use condom because their couple didn't want, and 9.3% because they decide to not use it. Other 9.3% argued that they didn't know anticonception methods. 7% wished to be pregnant, and 5.9% because they felt shame being one. And finally, 3.7% of teenagers that started sexual life didn't use some contraceptive alternative, considering that the sensation is not the same. Michelle Trespac, medical director of Janssen Mexico in Prevention and Contraceptive Methods workshop, says that one of the challenges of Mexican society is to strengthen the conditions and ways of communication for teenagers, and they exercise their sexuality in a free responsibility, and informed way. This foments a sexual education that teenagers can make decisions that let them play with their own future. And Marilu Ruiz, subdirector of Operation of Health Services of the Government of Mexico City, says that teenage pregnancy is going increasing and a lot of them are not prepared to be parents. They can go to health services and they will get orientation and attention for the start of their sexual life or their pregnancy. Annually are registered more than 400,000 babies of underage mothers, and the numbers don't decrease. That represents the 20% of total of births. It is not an overstatement to say that we have a pregnancy epidemic in teenagers in Mexico. So, do you want to be an statistic?